Oh, let me tell you something. Bustin' makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Blockbusting. I'm your host, Jay White, here to talk with me about movies that they hate and why they hate them. Today, comedian Mark Stevens.
Hey, what's up, Jay? Thank you for having me.
That is a shocking amount of low energy from you. That might be the lowest energy I've ever seen you have, Mark.
Because
you're a bombastic individual.
I'll get there, but first of all, I'm pounding on coffee right now. Yeah, I did a shoot today for like this thing since 10 in the morning, and it was just.
So this is tired Mark Stevens?
Oh, he'll come out. Don't worry, Mark's coming.
Okay.
He's coming. Just give me a second. I
mean, this is what we got you signed up for, buddy.
Oh,
I'm excited to have you on to talk about this movie that you hate. The one and only 2016 America crime drama thriller film, Patriots Day.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, why do you hate Patriots Day?
Because I did, for multiple reasons. I'll start with the top, is the fact that that was my home that got blown up.
Okay.
No, I mean, like, that was literally my street. I lived at the Avalon Towers apartments at the Prudential Center.
Okay.
And if you walked out and made a left, and you walked literally 20 seconds straight, you would get to Forum Restaurant, which is the site of Bomb 2.
Now, for those of you who are not good at putting together context clues, Patriots Day is about the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing and the subsequent terrorist manhunt. Now, this is directed by Peter Berg. Stars a bunch of people, including Mark Wahlberg, J.K. Simmons, John Goodman, Kevin Bacon, and Michelle Monaghan. Very well critically regarded. I think very well made. Mark.
Yeah.
Is your real hatred of this movie because it happened in Boston?
My hatred of the movies, because I had to, it was like reliving everything all over again.
Okay. What do you mean?
First of all, just to see my street get blown to hell again.
Okay.
I mean, like, Jay, can I give you a backdrop of like what my experience?
That's why I have you here.
All right. So that day, I'll never forget it. We were just buying a bunch of shit at the Shaw's that was right across the street where I lived, and we went 2 streets down, a couple blocks over, so I'm on Commonwealth Avenue. My friend Jack. I always say serendipity has a little way of working out, because my friend Jack happened to move it right in there a few months before, and his idea was, why don't we all tailgate there that day? So we're on Commonwealth Avenue. Me and every friend I had were all right there.
Uh-huh.
And I keep thinking to this day, had he not done that, we might have been in the blast site area. So
do you think he would have been right there?
Yeah.
By that Starbucks?
It wasn't by a Star. Well, it was, but it was more like by the Marathon store, and then the and Forum Restaurant, and and Max Brenner.
Yep.
My friend Diamond also was working at that candy store an hour before the store right next to the Marathon store.
Okay.
She was working right there.
Okay.
And she got cut an hour beforehand, and she wasn't supposed to be, but she got cut.
Okay.
We text each other every year on this day too. Just to say that, we love each other and we're happy we're still alive.
Right.
So we get there, and So right when the bombs go off, we all thought it was fireworks at first. Now, my friend Jack happened to be a Marine, and he had a few of his Army buddies there that day.
Mm-hmm.
And when we heard the and shit like that, we thought, oh, fireworks. And I saw every one of them go from chill to, like, it was like literally seeing like a watchdog move. And my friend Jack's like, dude, that was a bomb. I'm like, that was a fucking bomb. He goes, no, Mark, that was a bomb. And then about 5 minutes later, we're not even that. You just hear sirens and everything. And we're like, what's going on? And then you see the runners stop. Mm-hmm. Like, the whole marathon is stopped.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, and all of a sudden you see cops and everything, like, what's going on? And then part of the thing is like, did someone throw like a pipe bomb or something? And I was right on a much bigger level, because so we get inside. Also, no one's phones are working. People are freaking out.
Right.
And that's when I saw people start to come towards me. Mm-hmm. People that had just seen everything.
Okay.
And I saw a woman that had a bunch of blood on her just scream how she saw someone gets blown up. Now, when we were walking over to me and my boy Dave, we were walking prior to when this had all happened. When we were just coming over with some beer and shit, and I was wearing this big Bruins hoodie and everything. I still have to this day. And this little kid goes, "Hey, a Bruins fan." And we were like, "Yeah," like just being funny. First and foremost, that's one thing that I always think about was that Martin Richard.
Who is that?
The 8-year-old who died that day. And he was a diehard fan.
Do you think it was that kid?
I don't know. But I would just think of it in my head. I always think of it. I just like, was that him? Now, first of all, so that's reason number one. Now, when I first saw the movie, and it's like when you see how the day begins and everything, and they get to the Sarnev household.
Yes.
You know, you just feel that anger coming back. You feel like everything that you like. It was everything that I felt like. I felt like this bile in my throat. So I just see the house and like the Sarnev household, and you see them watching CNN and all this terrorism shit, and I just like, you know, I felt every anger I'd ever felt in my life come back to just, and then that scene when you see them put the rice cooker in the bag, and I just started gnawing on my fucking teeth. Like I couldn't, like and I just felt I felt like my heart was beating out of my chest again. It's like I felt like I was back there again. I felt like I just saw everything I could, and it was, even now as I say it, like it's like I can't stop thinking about how much I hated it, and every memory I ever had of that day come back and then this is what really drove me over the edge. Was the scene where you see the older brother punching the bag and doing bad. Like, did you watch the movie?
Yeah, of course I watched the movie.
Okay.
I'm not going to have you on this podcast and not watch the movie.
Okay. Well, the scene where he's punching the bag and doing fucking martial arts, that's where I lost.
In the garage?
Yeah. That's where I lost it.
Why?
Because I trained with him.
You trained with Tamerlan Tsarnaev?
Him and I are both members at Y Crew MMA. I'm not sure if we ever knew each other. I'm not sure if we ever saw each other, but maybe we probably did. Like, God knows if I ever sparred with him. Like, I don't remember. Like, what if we were in the same gym at the same time? What if our skin had touched? Yeah.
This is very, very fascinating. So
like I saw,
as you're watching the movie, so when that moment happens for you, when you're seeing him punch this punching bag, had you put together 2 and 2 at that point?
Oh, I already knew.
You already knew. Okay, so just watching that
just triggered everything. I got up. I started punching my fucking couch. I screamed. I just I threw something. I couldn't even fucking. I was so mad. It was just every thought I'd ever had. Just seeing him do that. Like, what were we doing? Like, did we do bag work together? Like, that's the one that drives me nuts. Is I don't know if we were ever in the same gym at the same time. I don't know. It's the one thing that goes through my head every day. Like, did I? It's just like every question did I see that kid before he got killed? Did I actually ever get in the ring with this dude who butchered half my fucking fellow people? And you know, you know what I mean? It's like, could I have fucking busted him open when I had the chance? You know, it's like one of those things. It's like,
all right, I will say this, Mark. I don't know if you sparring with Tamerlan Tsarnaev would have stopped him from doing.
I know, but just
this terrorist attack.
Obviously not. But it's just like that thought in my head, dude. It's just like, just keep thinking, had I done that, it makes me sick, Jay.
It wouldn't have. Why? Okay,
it makes me sick that I was ever, near him.
You're putting a lot on yourself. You know that, right? You're putting a lot of like mental anguish on yourself that you don't need to put on yourself.
I know it just
from this movie.
It's hard. Well, I told you it was a lot for me to take on. Like, just that's what I lost it when I saw him do the bag thing, and I fucking lost my shit. Like, that's what I was like. Fuck, I was next to. might have been next to the person who destroyed the street I lived on.
So that sequence is very early on in the movie.
Yeah.
That's a real early part because that's right when they're doing the countdown of before the gun goes off.
Yeah.
So if you're starting watching this movie from that place, where does it take you from there? What's the rest of your experience like watching this movie if you're basically in like a blind rage 20 minutes in?
Because I kept focusing on it.
No. Not what is your experience like? Walk me through what the experience of watching the movie is like for you after this moment.
It literally it was like, I mean, that moment was like a gut punch. It was just like everything. It was just, and then then they show the actual scene with the explosion and
Yep.
shit. And I remember my perspective of it was, after that we run inside and we were able to get the internet hooked up. And when I saw the overhead shot of Boylston Street, was exactly like what you saw in the movie. Just a sea of red. It was a sea of red.
Yeah. I mean, I think they used actual footage from
They did.
that day. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like, and I fucking cried. I started just fucking crying all over again.
Okay.
It was, it's just, it was a lot to just, it was everything that I could see. And then just at this point now I've gone from like tension to rage to just total sorrow. And now I'm just kind of numb watching this shit. And it's like, now it's like, they're doing the typical Mark Wahlberg thing and to lighten the mood a little bit. Because I will say another thing that kind of irked me around a little bit of this movie is that, man, they use some Boston stereotypes that just, let me tell you something. When he said, "You two fucking chowderheads" in the movie, I have never in my life living in the city ever heard someone call someone else a fucking chowderhead. I'm like, what is you talking about? I knew the minute I knew they were going to make this movie, I'm like, of course Mark Wahlberg is going to be the lead character. Who else would you have?
Right.
You had to have, and of course he's a cop. His name is Tommy, like that you would say with the accent.
Right. Now, okay. Before I get into sort of the nuts and bolts of this movie,
Okay.
I want to finish out what your experience watching this movie is
All right,
like.
we'll go through the whole
So
thing.
let's go. I mean, let's go through the whole thing. You watch the movie. After the actual bombing sequence happens. Where are your thoughts from that point on?
Oh, man, my thoughts at that point. It was just because it's like basically watching a Greek tragedy because you know what's going to happen. Like remember, I mean, I lived this movie, the real thing. Like, just going through the whole sequences of when they're doing this, and then you see when they cut to UMass Dartmouth, and you see them like texting each other and shit like that. Like his friends there, I don't know if they like straight up knew or just didn't want to report it, or they probably just think nothing would have happened. Fucking A.
Oh no, they were just dumb.
Yeah, they were
just dumb teens.
They were
who didn't want to get involved.
Yeah, they were just dumb. The whole thing was dumb. So it's like I saw all that, and then it was just really sad when you see the whole thing. Also, when you see the what was it? Also my friend, the security. Well, the night when they first got identified and shit like that.
Mm-hmm. When they're doing the carjacking and everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, here's what gets crazier. My friend Heather's older brother, who's in Homeland Security, was in that firefight.
Okay.
Yeah, which is nuts. Which is fucking crazy. That whole thing. He was underneath his Carter and that whole thing. He was part of that whole shit. And funny thing was, he said that night when we were all out and shit, and when the whole thing, when the city was on lockdown, all of a sudden everybody, the cops are getting phone calls left and right from people.
Right.
Because remember, all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, what did I hear? I don't remember leaving the door open. It's like all of a sudden, so now they had to bring in the national fucking. It was literally damn near martial law when the city was on lockdown. And
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just, and you feel nothing but sorrow because the scene where the security guard's about to die and shit, like you knew it was about to happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And he was and from what also the Asian girl who died in the attack. That's my friend Tomas's very good friend. He still cries about her to this day.
So you've basically, at this point in the movie, this movie's like watching like the most fucked up version of 6 Degrees of Separation.
Yeah, basically, yeah, for the most part. It's just like it was just I'm just seeing everything that I've ever like hated or just everything, and then the lockdown scene happened. And I'll never forget that day. I'm just like, I'll never forget me and my friend Emma, who you've met before. Mm-hmm. Like that night. Well, that night when we were out, they found out when the whole firefighting when they were throwing grenades at the fucking cars and shit. We were out at a bar that night, and all of a sudden that gets reported, and you hear sirens, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, you see cops coming down, like you got to get back to your home and everything like that, and Emma lived in the North End, and we were out on the corner of my place, so she stayed in my place that night, and like for the next day, like. We were just like in front of the television. We're like, and at that point, like all of a sudden they're bringing in a tank. I was like, someone said that. I'm like, and you just see all the memes and like downtown Iraq. Oh no, wait, this is Boston, and it's just like, this is my home that over the course of 5 days has become a fucking war torn battlefield. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, there are people dead. They're throwing grenades in Watertown, which I cannot believe the irony of the fact that they found him on a boat in Watertown. I was like, I'm like, even I was watching that. I'm like, all right, I know this guy's a human scum and this is terrible, but I got a little bit of a chuckle out of that. I'm like, really? They got him on a boat in Watertown?
Is it because of Watertown there's no water? Got it. Nailed him.
There's a boat there in Watertown. I was like, all right, that's kind of funny. But, and another thing where they're trying to, like, that scene where, like, the two army guys are on the roof and there's that one chick cop right there and, like, man, you have to go, like, I'm from fucking Boston. I'm in the movie. I'm like, that would never happen. Like, the cops, like, would not say that.
Well,
like,
here's a factor that I think is really, really important in how this movie culturally impacts us, right? The whole movie is based on true events.
Yeah.
And it's based on a terrorist attack on American soil, which is, again, now is becoming its own genre of movie.
Yeah.
At this point,
I'm surprised they haven't made one about Dallas and shit yet.
I mean, they probably will at some point. There's a lot of school shooting movies that they haven't made. There's a lot of church shooting movies that they haven't made. I mean, look, Texas has had 2 mass shootings in the past years, so we're winning right now.
You think they'll make one out of Vegas?
Concerned.
They have to, wouldn't they?
Yes.
If the Knights win the Stanley Cup, they'll definitely make it out of Vegas.
Dude, not even if the Knights win the Stanley Cup. The movie's sold.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I guarantee, anytime a tragedy happens, some fucking screenwriter in a coffee shop is like, here we go.
There were 4 9/11 movies. Like, they were like...
And there's going to be more.
Of course
there was a 9/11 movie last year.
Which one?
It had Charlie Sheen in it.
Of course.
And there's a 9/11 TV show on Hulu. There's never going to be a set of movies that won't exist and a set of media that won't exist based off of tragedy. But what I think is... The thing I think about Patriots Day is that I think Patriots Day is objectively a good movie.
Oh, no. If it is. Like you know how you had Kim Crawl on here and she hated Titanic.
Right.
Titanic's a great fucking movie, but she just hated it for her own reasons.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point of this fucking podcast.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you took Boston Mark out of here, and if I was from fucking South Dakota and watched the movie, I'd be like, this is a great goddamn movie.
It's a really well-made movie.
Oh, it's a great movie. It's well done. I'm just saying why
I think the guys who play the Tsarnaev brothers both do a great job.
Oh, they did. They found that guy's doppelganger. That guy.
I loved J.K. Simmons. I loved Kevin Bacon. The one person and I love Jimmy O Yang. Oh God, he plays he's so great, and his character's so important in the movie.
Oh yeah, well he's the one he's the reason that they even caught those guys. Also, by the way, a fun fact about the bombing is that they weren't originally going to do it at the marathon.
Where were they going to do it?
Oh, it was going to be worse. They were going to do it at the bowl.
I don't know what that is.
The half shell.
I still don't know what that is.
Okay, the half shell, if you want to look that up, is right in the Boston Common area. No, the Boston, it's right on the side. It's like if you're coming into the city, it's the very famous concert venue. You know the movie Ted? You've seen Ted, right?
I've seen Ted.
You know what's the name of the singer? Who's playing the half shell, that big concert?
I don't know. I don't know Ted well enough. I'm not a Boston movie aficionado you are, Mark.
Well, just you know the scene where there was the concert scene. That's the half shell where all those people were.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just an open space.
So they were going to bomb a concert originally.
Yeah, but it's just flat grassland and open space. Remember, that happened where all those buildings were. Mm-hmm. And it's just 2 lines of people. Could you imagine if those pipe bombs had gone off with no buildings around, nothing, just flat land people? You're looking at not 4 or 5 deaths. You're looking at about 60, 70, and about 500, 600 people maimed from this shit.
Tell you what, we got a very different movie out of that experience. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I think the thing that is the most egregious to me about this movie, and it is, again, a movie that I watched, and I was shocked at how much I liked it. I thought this movie was going to be hot garbage because it falls into the tragedy capitalization factory that I don't think is the greatest place for a movie to come from. But Peter Berg does a great job. He directs it well. Its script is fine. It's not amazing. It gets the job done. But the part that makes me the most mad about this movie is the fact that Mark Wahlberg is playing a fictional character.
Exactly.
He's playing a made-up, literal Boston stereotype just so they can have Mark Wahlberg sell a movie.
And there was no Tommy in the movie. There was no officer. That did not happen. They didn't have.
And he's not even based off of other officers. He's not cobbled together from other people like they do in other movies that are based on a true story.
And of course,
he's just invented.
And of course, he's the one who finds the younger brother and shit like that. And he's the one that drags him. It's like, of course, Mark Wahlberg has to save Boston because Mark Wahlberg. That's
exactly. Exactly.
And listen, if one person's going to save Boston, it's got to be Mark Wahlberg.
Does it have to be, though?
It could be. Well, it could be Mark Wahlberg.
At this point, can we just stop giving Mark Wahlberg Boston movies? Can we? Please?
There
are other people from Boston.
I can't. I know there are, but I can't. I can't take that crown from him. I'm sorry. He's our Boston guy for now. We can't change. That's like
he doesn't have to be.
Yeah, and Tom Brady doesn't have to be the quarterback of the Patriots, but I mean, come on, Jay, what are we doing here? Like, who are you going to pick?
I was wondering when you were going to finally shoehorn in a Patriots reference.
Well, it
took 20 minutes.
It took Patriots, and we're talking about Patriots today. We had to. Speaking of which,
no, we didn't, Mark.
Also, again, at the end, I love how they had to put the David Ortiz speech in there.
Well, they had to. You got to put it in.
This is it's a great speech. It is a great speech. But I love how like they had him give a speech like it's David like the Poppy, but it's like he's like a baseball player. Like, what do you want me to say? And they had him do that twice. They had him do that there, and then they had to do it 2 seasons ago when a lot of crazy shit happened. I don't know, some shooting happened. So they had David Ortiz go out and say something to people, like he's the guy. Like,
I'm really glad that you can look at this movie and actually realize and recognize that it is a good movie, even though it causes you
pain.
A lot of pain.
Oh yeah, I know. Like at the end of the day, listen. I know some money from this movie did help pay for One Fund victims, from what I understand, which is great. And I'm glad that this movie got made because it, people want to remember it. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying why it personally caused me pain because, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the only person who feels this way. A lot of people in Boston didn't care.
I don't disagree with. I'm not here to shit on your experience as a Bostonian in this movie.
Yeah.
What drew me to when you even brought up the potential of watching this movie was the fact that you have a personal connection to the attack.
Well, yeah, it was my home, and I fucking may have been right next to one of the brothers back in the day. You know what I mean?
I know you guys may have sweated on each other at the same heavy bag. Ooh la la! You probably could have punched the shit out of him and knocked all those silly terroristic ideas out of his head. Mark.
I know. Well, I wouldn't have done that. I'm just saying, just a thought.
I mean,
alone.
you just told me that potentially could have happened. You told me that like 15 minutes ago.
Well, but he was saying someone else did. I trained with a fighter there, and he said he was on news shows talking about it because he actually did spar with him back then.
Oh, sorry, on what?
He was on a few
news shows. I thought you said new Joes, like some sort of other podcast
shows. John Doomsday Howard. He trained at Y Crew. He was our big guy there.
Okay, with a name like Doomsday, that makes sense.
Yeah, he was a welterweight, but he was he fought in the UFC for a while. I think he fights in a different. I believe he fights in a different fight organization now, but he did spar with the older brother, and he actually knew him, and he broke his nose. So that was okay. I know that was just a big thing that they always talked about. They brought him on like, oh, so you're the one who broke the Boston Marathon bombers. So it was like that. They just brought him like, oh, okay, he hurt him. We like him. Like that
really speaks a lot to, I think, the fucking awfulness of the 24-hour news cycle when they're like, oh God, who can we get? Let's get a guy named Doomsday who broke Tamerlan Tsarnaev's nose. Yeah. That's going to be great television.
No, they brought him on.
He probably has real cogent analysis about him watching Anwar al-Awlaki videos.
Yeah, it just, I mean, Jay, how would you, would it ever creep you out knowing that you were next to the guy who committed the shootings in Dallas? Like, just, you might have had an interaction with him. That might freak you out a little bit.
Not really.
That wouldn't freak you out at all? You would never think about that?
That's a very different thing than being in the same, No, honestly, no. That's a bullshit thing to throw around because it's all fucking random chance.
Fair enough. I'm just saying, it just.
What if we're here and some disgruntled open micer decides to shoot up the comedy scene?
And thank God that has not happened.
Of course, and I'm going to knock on wood and hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, right? Fuck.
But I wouldn't feel that weird. I wouldn't be like, oh, I knew that guy. If it was like a friend of mine, that's different. If it's just some random fucking guy, that's completely different.
It's just one of those things that just creeps me. It's a personal thing. It just creeps me out. That's all.
You freak out easy.
Yeah, how long have you known me now? Come on.
Mark, I have one other question.
Yeah.
Boston related.
Let's hear it.
So, in the canon of Boston movies, because there's a lot of movies
there's
that
so
there's
many.
a whole other genre
Good God,
now.
there's so many.
Where do you think Patriots Day falls between? Like, for me, Patriots Day is a real high quality Boston movie. I think it's got to go somewhere in between, probably like Good Will Hunting and The Town.
I wouldn't. I mean,
It's a fucking good Boston movie.
it is a good Boston movie. I'm not sure if I put it up there with Good Will Hunting. I mean, that's
It's not better than Good Will Hunting, but I think it's probably better than The Town.
yeah. I mean, honestly, the town was the. Can I be real? I thought the town was a little overrated, to be honest with you. I didn't like. I think it was good, but it got really.
I think
high.
it's really. I think it's really nice.
It was good. No, it was
It's
good.
definitely better. I mean, it's fucking better than Ted. Actually, you know what? The Fighter is better than both of those combined. So
Yeah, see,
we're good to go.
that was a great.
Fighter's
movie.
probably the best Boston movie out there.
Yeah, and you saw you wanted like what other, actually not to jump ship on the movies here, but once again, hey, it's a Mark Wahlberg Boston movie. That's also a good sign of sometimes you got to leave your family out of your personal life, because if you saw how his family handled his shit in the movie, they kind of hindered him more than helped him.
Right. Where do you think Mark Wahlberg plays a more interesting fictional character, in the Patriots Day movie or in the Transformers franchise?
Oh man, that's a good question. First of all, they should have stopped with the Transformers franchise a while ago.
Yeah, but Mark Wahlberg's in there now, which does that make all the Transformers movies Boston movies from now on?
God, I hope not.
Does putting Mark Wahlberg in a movie automatically make it a Boston movie? I think it does at this
It's
point.
like there's always like a little.
I mean,
hint
you
of it.
just said that Mark Wahlberg is the only person who's allowed to say Boston in a movie, which I think makes that the only person.
Who would you put over him if you could pick another Boston person? Like
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. True. Well, he's too busy being Batman right now.
Which now makes that a Boston movie. Gotham
no.
City is actually Boston the whole time. Did you know that?
Do not lump Justice League in with us, please, for the love of God.
Too late. Already did.
That's bullshit. You can't. It's bullshit. You can't make it that.
Too late.
No, I revoke that. You can't. All right, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, but Matt Damon's been kind of fucking up lately. So,
Matt Damon, what has he been doing?
he did that one movie, the Downsizing.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the thing. Matt Damon's not a Boston boy anymore. He's not. He's just not.
Oh, sorry, guys.
That was the grossest swallowing noises I've ever heard. Why don't you drink the coffee that you have right in front of you?
I don't know. It was making me cough. I think I needed water.
No, boy. Coffee does dehydrate. I'm going to have to edit all this part out. Let me find, try and re-jog and figure out where we can jump
What
back
has
in.
Matt Damon been doing lately? He did Downsizing. Ben Affleck's being Batman, and Mark Wahlberg is just saving Boston and the rest of the world from evil Decepticons. That's what he's been doing.
I wish that Mark Wahlberg wasn't the go-to for every Boston stereotype. I wish that if I could put in one cinematic wish for all filmmakers from here on out, it's stop making Mark Wahlberg your go-to Boston guy.
I mean, we
need a new Boston guy.
I mean, I would love to take up that mantle someday.
Yeah, you're not going to do that.
Oh,
It's not going to happen. You're not a leading man.
oh, why not?
Have you seen yourself in the mirror, Mark?
Yeah, I'm a smaller guy. I know. I'm 5'6".
Not just small. You're goofy. You look goofy. You're Danny DeVito.
Coming from first of all, I'm in way better shape than Danny DeVito. Coming from
Yeah, but look
you.
you and Danny DeVito have very similar body type. You could be next generation.
Fuck you! Are you kidding me?
Hey, I sparred with Tamerlan Tsarnaev, okay?
I'm gonna
you
little son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch. I could have broken that Boston Bomber's nose and he wouldn't have put a pressure cooker on ice.
First,
Tell you what.
dude, don't bring accents into your act, for the love of God.
Don't bring what? Accents?
Yeah.
I already did. Too late.
Dude,
I'm just going to let you suffer now. How dare you? No, you can have some water. Here you go.
I'm goofy looking my ass. Please, I'm damn good looking. Thank you very much.
Oh, Jesus, Mark. Is that too much Boston confidence? Maybe you could be a great Boston leading
You
man,
goddamn
then,
right.
with
Now that's
something
more like
that.
it. Thank you very much.
I disagree. I still don't think you can. I was just trying to humor you. Mark, I cannot emphasize enough. I did not at the very beginning of this podcast. I mean, I figured you might have been uncomfortable watching Patriots Day, and the fact that I basically coerced you into watching Patriots Day so you'd do this podcast.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do it, and I really appreciate that you did, because I do think that your take on it, as somebody who is there, fascinating.
Yeah, no, it was Let me tell you something. After they caught him, longest sleep I've ever had in 5 days.
Wait, what? Longest sleep you've ever had? Had you been awake for 5 days straight?
I barely slept.
Gotcha.
I barely slept. I
just needed to clarify what you meant there.
I barely could sleep.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know what it is about the studio that is making me have the biggest frog in my throat right now. I don't know why I'm coughing so much.
It's probably because we're talking about a super emotional movie, and you're trying. I can see the tears welling up in your eyes as we talk about this.
No, I'm
Mark.
gagging right now. I don't know what the hell's going on with me.
You're gagging on your emotions, Mark. I get it. Look, we already discussed how sad this movie makes you.
No, I mean, listen. First of all, you've been my boy since day one. You've always looked out for me, so I'm like, I'll do this for Jay. I got you.
I appreciate that.
Okay, you need more water.
Here, just finish it. Dude.
Oh my God.
Honestly, you can just have the rest of that bottle. Mark, thank you so much for coming on today, man. If there's a movie that you would like to recommend to people, since you cannot get through Patriots Day without falling into a pit of rage.
Well, I got through the whole thing.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Without falling into a pit of rage, clearly, you got to listen to the second half of the sentence, buddy.
Yeah.
Since you can't get through Patriots Day without being embroiled in wrath, what is a movie that you would recommend as like a feel-good movie? What's your movie that would be your palate cleanser after Patriots Day?
My feel-good movie right now, what I was watching, like, get me in like a good place.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a dark movie, but I like it. You ever see The Count of Monte Cristo with Jim Caviezel?
Never seen it.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Is it a feel-good movie?
It's more about what goes around comes around.
Okay.
But I like it. It's always been one of my favorite films. That, Analyze This is also one of my favorite movies ever.
Okay.
That, A Bronx Tale.
Analyze This. That's Jack Nicholson.
No,
and
Robert De Niro and Billy Crystal.
Robert De Niro, Billy Crystal.
Where
I was thinking of Anger Management. Jack Nicholson and Adam Sandler. Cool. Count of Monte Cristo with Jim Caviezel. Analyze This. A Bronx Tale, which we just had. Perfect. All the stuff's in there. It's fine. We're good. Take a sec. Jesus Christ. You all good? What are you doing? Are you puking?
Bustin' makes me feel good.
All right,
So basically, Mark just puked in the fucking studio because he's too overwhelmed by emotion talking about this movie.
I don't think that's what happened. I don't know what just happened. I'm like, why am I coughing so much?
I think it's literally like the bile that you were talking about earlier. It's all coming back up, man.
I told you that movie got me.
This movie put Mark Stevens in physical pain, folks. And if you know Mark, that should be enough reason for you to go watch this movie. It's a great movie. And I hope that you never have to watch it again so you don't puke on the floor of the studio of a podcast studio.
Oh my
again,
God.
Mark.
First of all, I'm so sorry if I was coughing through half this fucking movie set here. I don't know why that just happened.
It's your emotions, buddy. Just accept it. Be the man that Mark Wahlberg wants you to be. Mark Wahlberg cries in this movie. You can cry too, Mark. It's okay.
Oh, I cried during watching this movie.
I
like
believe
100%.
it. I know. We already discussed it.
Okay, there's one other thing I wanted to... Fuck, I think after my little vomiting episode there, I completely blanked a little bit. Oh, I will say this, yes. Jay, of course, I watched this movie for you because, for anyone listening here, Jay you've always had my back here since day one, and you've always wanted to see me do well, and you've always tried to keep me on the straight and narrow around here, and for you, I would do it. It was anyone else, I would have been like, fuck you.
I'm glad I have that much pull in your tiny little life, Mark. I appreciate everything that you did for this show. Where can my listeners find your stuff on the internet?
Okay, so I am the co-host of a podcast called The Loudcast with Mark and Tom. Jay is actually our most current guest on the show.
Yep.
You can find us on iTunes. You can find me on any form of social media at Mark the Shark 927. That's Mark with a K. And I'm going to be at Madhouse Comedy Club July 6th and 7th, and then I'll be at the Ice House that Sunday on the 8th. And yeah, that's about it. So Jay, thank you for having me. Sorry if I was like kind of choked up in and out of the movie.
Dude, you're good. This is a very, like I said, this is a very heart-wrenching and throat-wrenching movie for you. It's a real fucking humdinger. Thanks for tuning in, guys. You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram, jlightcomedy.com for show dates. I'll be all doing all kinds of cool stuff. Just give that website a look. And leave a rating. Please, leave a rating, leave a review. once we get enough, I'll start reading some on the air because I want you guys to tell me what you think about this new format, these new movies, and go watch them for yourself. Folks, this has been another episode of Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change. Sweet. Are you good?